Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We will see in the next 2 weeks the highest number of cases reported globally since the beginning of the pandemic. In terms of the United States, we're just at the beginning of this surge. We haven't even really begun to see it yet. We're now, I think, in that cycle where the upper Midwest is just now beginning to start this fourth surge. And I think it was a wake-up call to everyone when Michigan reported out 8,400 new cases, and we're now seeing increasing number of severe illnesses, ICU hospitalizations, in individuals who are between 30 and 50 years of age who have not been vaccinated.
Dr. Ulsterholm there, he's always a ray of sunshine. Nothing is ever good. Everything is always bad. We're all going to hell in a handbasket, blah, 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 blah. It is, it's amazing, right? It is. It's amazing that there's never any good news. And when there is good news, what ends up happening? Somebody comes back and says, not so fast, kitten. Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting ahead of yourself on the good news. People are getting vaccinated. Biden has bumped up the by May 1st, he wanted everybody to be eligible. Now he says by April 19th, everybody should be eligible. I've gotten one shot. I've also had it. So I'm like a double winner there. And I think I'm supposed to get my second shot of Moderna in, I think next week is when I'm supposed to get it. I'm not quite sure. There's a little thing that tells me when. Am I worried about it? No. In fact, America is not as worried as they once were, according to a new poll from Gallup, from the Gallup poll. 35% of Americans are worried about catching COVID, down from almost 50%. 77% say COVID-19 situation in the U.S. is improving, up from 60%, and 64% report at least a fair amount of disruption to their lives, down from 70%. All in all, it's a situation where people feel comfortable about it. Why is that? Well, there's a vaccine. Right? There's 3 of them. Probably will be a 4th in the next few months. On top of that, you're seeing the fact that there's also herd immunity based on the fact that so many people got it. Places like Michigan, if you notice, the places where they're seeing some surges are places where they were really locked down. People weren't out and about. Kids weren't doing things. Places like Florida, Texas, even Arizona, where and remember, we're going to get some bump. Right? That's going to happen. When you return to a normal way of life where people are interacting with each other on a more steady basis, you're going to see a jump. That's life. In saying all of that, places that were really locked down, they didn't have the kind of spread that other places that weren't, that at the beginning of this got completely criticized. Texas, Arizona, Florida, places that were kind of, I talk about it. My son's out here. He's 10 years old. He's out here, and we're having a lot of fun. And he jokes because, first of all, I got him a mini bike, so he likes driving that thing around, which is always great. But secondly, and this is important, is the things he's able to do. He's like, we can't do this in California. We couldn't be able to do this in California. Those kind of things where he's out doing stuff, interacting, this didn't happen until the last month or so. And finally, his mom and some of his friends' mothers and fathers said, all right, we've had enough of some of this insanity, and we're going to let the kids interact. But when you're getting out there and you're going to be around each other, you're going to have a certain amount of spread that is going to happen just naturally. Israel saw a bounce in the number of positive tests when it came to the people starting to get their shots and then people getting back out there. But then it hit a wall and careened. You're going to have some of that. Zero is not going to happen. So we got to figure out how we're going to live through this. It should never be doom and gloom, but it always is. You've got to find some sort of light at the end of the tunnel for people. So the states that were really locked up, they didn't have the natural spread. And while everybody else is getting vaccinated, some of these places are getting their first real taste of seeing this thing spread in a way that they haven't before. And part of the reason for that is the fact is some of these states are being kind of almost forced based on the voters saying, we're going to recall you. You better figure something out. There's looking at the other states going, all right, we got no choice. We got to let these people out. We got to let these people do some stuff. We got no choice. We got to let them do it. We got to go. Now, the vaccines, very interesting. Fauci talking about said vaccine because nobody really understands how long it lasts. They don't know how long it lasts if you caught it and you got through it, which is 99.5% of people. Nobody knows. Is it like the Spanish flu or the MERS, some of these other things that have been out there? Is this one of those things where it's a lifetime? Is it one of those things where you may have to get a shot every 6 months? Nobody knows.
If the vaccine's bulletproof.
Because the thing that we don't know what the durability of the protection is. We know it's at least 6 to 8 months, but we don't know if it's a year or a year and a half or 2 years. So there are a lot of factors that'll go into whether or not we're going to require a boost and how often we'll require it.
Nobody knows. Like a lot of these things, nobody knows. Well, we have to. I mean, I think I would probably see a boost. Maybe get to the point where, and remember, they're going to continue to improve on these things. So next year, we may say, Pfizer may come out and say, look, you get one shot, it lasts 5 years. Moderna may say the same. A couple of these other companies that are out there are trying to put together, I think Pfizer's one of them, or maybe Moderna's trying to put together a pill form where you essentially take it at home and you take it for a couple of days, and that should give you the boost you need. These are all things that are out there, but nobody really knows because it's never been really tested for a length of time. And sometimes what happens is you talk to doctors, watch epidemiologists, is, the antibodies and everything else, they drop down to the point where you don't see them. Tests aren't going to catch them until something is introduced that they recognize, that they know is bad, and then the memory starts to, come back and they start to fight it. It's a long time to study these things when it comes to people who have been affected and people who have got the shot. We won't know for months and months, and there's still always a chance, like everything else, that you may catch it even with it. The thing is, having the shot will make the effects of it really minuscule.
If the durability of the protection is really quite long and it does well against the invariable appearance of variants, we may not have to boost, or we may only need to do it very intermittently. If it looks like the durability of the protection is really limited to an extent to a year or so, we very well may need to boost people intermittently.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. All in all, we're moving forward. I think most states are opening up at a pretty brisk pace. And once you get that genie out of the bottle, it's going to be hard to put it back. People have been locked down on and off for a year. They've had too much time where they're unsettled, not quite sure where this is going, where their paycheck is going to go. 1 minute they feel like everything's fine. The next minute they feel like, this could go to hell in a handbasket really fast. At this point in time, I think we are where we are. States are going to do it at the pace that they're going to do it at, but most states are opening up. You go from there to Minnesota. The trial continues.
The defense is showing the chief pictures questioning whether Chauvin's knee was on Floyd's neck the entire time.
Would you agree that from the perspective of Officer King's body camera, it appears that Officer Chauvin's knee was more on Mr. Floyd's shoulder blade?
Yes.
But the chief said by that time, Floyd may have already been dead.
Yeah, Chief Arredondo talking about that. It is so far, I mean, it's going as I think a lot of people have thought it was going to go. It's going to continue to move in that direction. A lot of what's going to come out is going to be the medical examiners and the way that they present each side of it, because they're already questioning each other. And what you're going to have is who's going to be able to sell it better, right? Who's going to sell it better? Well, we had a independent autopsy of him, and it shows that there was issues and damage to the throat, to the neck, and to the trachea. And the other side, supposedly said, look, well, there was a little bit of that. The main cause was a heart attack. And can you sell it if you're one side or the other? Who tells the story the best and gets across to the jury in such a way that they buy into that? On the other side of that, there's also the Minneapolis police that are somewhat on trial here. And I don't mean all of them. I'm talking about the actions themselves. Were the actions correct? Was he trained for that? Is that part of what you guys do? and gals. Don't want to leave the gals out.
Taking the stand, Minneapolis Police Chief Madera Arredondo testifying against one of his own former officers.
When someone is in our custody, regardless if they're a suspect, we have an obligation to make sure that we provide for their care.
On the stand, recalling when he first saw that tough-to-watch video of Chauvin on Floyd.
A community member had contacted me and said, Chief, almost verbatim, but said, Chief, have you seen the video of your officer choking and killing that man?
That's tough. You got to get that. Wait, what? He did who? What? Yeah. Choked him and killed him. And there's a video of it. Video's pretty long. It's pretty graphic. Remember, if you're the defense, what are you trying to do? Seed a doubt inside of a jury or two jurors' minds to make them say to themselves, I don't know if this is... And right now, there isn't that based on everything. But also, you hear the chief of police. They're doing what? They're protecting the badge. They're protecting their own because people are looking at them saying, you guys must have trained them like that. That's why he did what he did.
Arredondo telling jurors Chauvin should have stopped restraining Floyd once he was on the ground and clearly in distress.
To continue to apply that level of force to a person proned out, handcuffed behind their back is not part of our training. And it is certainly not part of our ethics or our values.
And that right there is a win for the prosecution. There'll be some more twists and turns, but right now I think the prosecution has done a pretty damn good job of selling this thing. And again, the world is still watching this case. George Floyd wasn't just a person here who became a story nationwide that led to, summer of discontent and protest. It was a worldwide story. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Thanks, Craig, for sitting in for me. Took a few days off. Enjoyed myself. Not going to lie. Played a little golf. Hung out with my son, who got his first mini bike, because that's his new jam now, is that got his first road rash, too. Nice one. Nice little road rash. So I'm like, that's spot on. That's what you need. That's what you need right there. You need to learn, right? Speaking of learning, you need to learn from this. Car Shield is there to protect you. With 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. The shop is the shop that you choose. You choose that shop. They get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. It's that simple. Maybe your car has issues when it comes to, Chad, my car's a little bit older. I'm worried about the engine. They've got a plan that's right for you, starting as low as $99 a month. Maybe it's the other thing where your car's a little bit newer and you have a warranty on your engine, but you don't have a warranty on any of the stuff on the inside, and those electronics can get expensive if they need to be replaced. They've got a plan that's right for you. Call them today. Ask them, hey, I need this, this, and this. What do you have for me? Mention code Benson. They're going to save you 10%. 800-665-2157. 800-665-2157. Or carshield.com. Carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth!
Come on, man. Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
Obviously, just, high stakes and just being in that category with those type of people, it's amazing to hear that. But I think more importantly, man, just so excited as what our team did and how well everybody played and how, as a collective unit, we were just amazing and phenomenal, especially at such a high stage, and it was just really important for us to come together and just, show the world what we can do.
Yeah, they showed the world last night. I didn't win. I will let you guys know that. Did not win. I had thought Gonzaga was going to pull it out. They didn't. As Jared Butler there, one of the stars, he just absolutely crushed it, and the Zags got run out of the building. And look, they didn't hide. They didn't hide behind it. They were undefeated but they were open about what took place and how good Baylor was.
Listen, Baylor they just beat us. They beat us in every facet of the game tonight, and deserve all the credit. And obviously, we're all disappointed in here.
Yeah, it was one of those games. It was funny last week after watching Baylor and UCLA go at it. Gonzaga and UCLA go at it. I said, if the Zags play that way against Baylor, Baylor's going to run them out of the building. And I texted that to my buddy, and I had the Zags to win everything, and it wasn't even a game. It wasn't. Baylor, first championship, and they are, they're pumped, right? This is, there's a few things. The SEC, you win that's great, but the college football championship's huge, and March Madness is great. Nobody cares about what you did during the regular season. Gonzaga was 33-0. They got nothing to show for it. Baylor, they lost a couple games, but at the end of the day, they won.
Coaching is like being a parent. And Christmas time, you see the kids opening up presents. You see them excited. You're excited. And to see the Baylor fans be able to celebrate and cheer, to see the city of Waco be able to celebrate and cheer, to see the state of Texas.
Yeah, that's Scott Drew. He's the coach of Baylor. Now, if you're him, right, you're 50 years old. You've got a championship. Who comes calling and offers that stupid money? Right, that stupid, hey, we're going to give you a 5-year, $45 million deal. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Are you happy there in Waco? Are you happy? Would you like to come to a powerhouse where it's much easier to recruit? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Forbes' richest list came out. And we're going to talk about that. Capitalism, morality. Should capitalism have more morality? Whose morals? Is it even moral to be rich? What? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I doubt that the federal government will be the main mover of a vaccine passport concept. They may be involved in making sure things are done fairly and equitably, but I doubt if the federal government is going to be the leading element of that. I do believe that there will be individual entities that will do that. There may be theaters that say you don't get in unless you have proof of vaccination.
Okay. So do I not get to wear a mask? Well, that's all I care about. I think I talk to everybody. Everybody says the same thing. When do I get to take the mask off? When do I not have to wear this damn thing that, for all intents and purposes, after you've either had it or have a shot, and now they're saying last week, right? So Rochelle Walensky, who's the head of the CDC, doctor comes out and she says, "Hey, if you got a vaccine, you pretty much can't catch it, and you're not a carrier of it." And then like 24 hours later, don't say that. You can't say that to people. You can't say that you can't. No, you can't. You can't say that. She's like, all right, I'm sorry. She also came out and said, hey, by the way, as far as hygiene goes, we got some new guidelines on disinfecting things, and you don't really have to worry about washing your hands 8 times a minute because it's airborne. So unless you're, down there, actually on the surface, I think you're going to be fine. So we'll see what happens. But the question I always get is, when are we going to see the mask off? When's that happen? Because the mask thing is, let me tell you something. It's a mask thing. People freak out if you're not wearing a mask. Even if you just forgot it, like, oh, my God, I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. Because for 50 years I didn't wear one, and now I forget every once in a great while. People lose their mind.
My girl here wants me to come out of the elevator so she can come out of the elevator.
Because it's a small space, we're supposed to maintain social distancing. I don't understand why you can't just politely step out to allow me out of the elevator. elevator when I asked you nicely while you have been wearing your mask.
You didn't ask me nicely. You said get the out the elevator.
I said that after you refused to get out.
Yeah, that's fun. She's freaking out. What you can't deal with that, and part of that is the fact that we put fear in people's minds to the point. And this is a disease you should worry about in certain cases, right? I mean, it is if you're somewhat healthy and you're going to be fine. Is there a chance? Of course, people die from the flu every year. People die from all kinds of things, but I don't freak out when somebody has the flu, unless it's the stomach flu. Then you stay over there. I will stay in another room. We don't have to see each other at all. But you hear that. And part of that is the fact that this person believes if they catch it, for whatever reason, it's the second coming of the Ebola virus. And that's not a good thing either. It isn't.
You're not making sense, honey. You might as well get off at your floor.
I'm trying to get off at my floor. I can't come close to you. That I am extremely compromised immune system. You are a delivery person incorrectly wearing the mask inside
I
of
guess
my
incorrectly what?
It wasn't like that the whole time.
I don't. She's going to make somebody very miserable for a very long time. It's not very nice, Chad. You're a jerk. Oh, you can't deal with that. You can't. I will say I've seen a little bit less mask wearing, and where I live, a little different, right? I live in the Valley of the Dirt People out here in Arizona. So Phoenix, really nice, but you get out where I live, different county, Pinell County. Kind of always joke about it, calling the Valley of the Dirt People. We're a little bit more rural. We're a little bit more free-flowing. You know, our sheriff is Mark Lamb. You see him on Live PD. First time they had him on Live PD, he was playing the cow chip game, where the cows, wherever they poop, inside of a square, you get it's like cow bingo or something. He's a little bit more, freedom. And, yeah, but I've seen less mask wearing lately. But still, I would say 90% of people are wearing masks as opposed to 99%. But also, I always question the mask. If you got a good mask, that's one thing. If you got a mask that you bought at Old Navy because it looks good with your clothes, probably not super awesome. Just throwing it out there. Speaking of awesome, how awesome is it? Because this infrastructure bill is massive. It is huge. It is huge. And so is the promises.
As we get the economy back on its feet, we need to do the hard work of building back better. That's why I proposed the American Jobs Plan. I've heard from everybody all across the country about the need for infrastructure. Well, this is an 8-year program that invests in our roads, our bridges, broadband, airports, ports, and fixing our water systems. It will invest in research and development to outcompete China and the rest of the world. But if we pass this plan, the economy will create 19 million jobs. Good jobs, blue-collar jobs, jobs that pay well.
Blue-collar jobs, jobs that pay well. Is that real? I don't know if that's 19 million. Even Wolf Blitzer called out, Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation. Like, wait, what?
You claimed this plan would lead, in your words, to 19 million jobs. That's not true. As our fact checker, Daniel Dale, just wrote about, the analysis is talking about the overall economy and finds this Biden plan will contribute a net 2.7 million jobs. Can you set the record straight for us?
Yeah, I should be precise about this. So Moody's modeled a future, a scenario where the American Jobs Plan is passed. And in that scenario, they see the American economy creating 19 million jobs. And that's 2.7 more than if this bill doesn't pass.
So, without this bill, 17 million. With this bill, 19 million. So, no. That's not that. But it's always great. And by the way, like everything, when government does something, it's always, if everything goes correctly, we'll do this. How many times in life has everything gone spot perfect? Like spot on. It's perfect. Nothing has failed. Everything went to plan. Rarely does that happen. If ever. Especially when it comes to government. So it's, and here's the other thing. There's never any real situation where government fails and we're like, man, we need to hold you guys accountable. Right? It's like, hey, you promised us 19 million jobs, really 2.5 million or whatever it is. But instead, you raised taxes and there was only 500,000 jobs. And be like, it's government. Be like, whatever. Get over yourselves. Do I think that we need infrastructure? Yeah, and I think it'd be bipartisan. But like everything else, you always have to look what's inside of a bill, right? You look and see what's inside of a bill to find out if that's real or not. You look inside of the bill to find out, hey, what have you packed in there or didn't pack in there? Because that's the pork on the back end, which is all the crap that everybody else throws in. And then, of course, then you get out there and you start selling it, right? You sell the hell out of this. This thing's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and it's going to this, that, and the other. And it's going to be all of these things. I see a lot of taxes. Taxes, you know what? I can live with some of the stuff, but a lot of this other stuff is nuts. And infrastructure normally is a huge bipartisan thing. But when you start looking at this thing and saying to yourself, all right, what's real and what's not real? What's workable and not workable? And now there may be a chance for them to pass this with zero Republican help whatsoever. Zero. Go right around the filibuster. And in doing so, you know what that does? It opens up a massive can of worms because eventually you will not be on that side. You'll be on the other side where the Republicans will have their day, and then you'll be going, oh, my God, I can't believe they're doing this. This is not right. Well, that's the thing that everybody looked at Harry Reid when he pulled the nuclear option many years ago, including Chuck Schumer, said, I think we're going to live to regret this. And they have.
Let's leave La La Land for a while. This is not an infrastructure bill. If you think this is an infrastructure bill, you probably better stay away from sharp objects. This is a Green New Deal, welfare, and reparations bill. Being charitable, less than 10% of the bill is devoted to infrastructure, and we don't even know what the projects are.
And there's the scary part of so many of these things. And now you go out and you shout and scream if you're on the other side, right or left. This is what's inside this thing, and some of that may be true, but even cut that in half. Let's say it's 30%, 40% is infrastructure. Well, you call it an infrastructure bill. It's like the thing we talk about with the penguins, right? They'll have a bill with $1 trillion in there to spend on all their little pet projects, but $2 million of that will be devoted to saving penguins somewhere. And they'll call it the Saving Penguins bill. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I can't vote for that because you have all this crap in there. And then they're like, well, Chad didn't vote for the Saving Penguins because he hates penguins. I'm like, that's totally it. I hate penguins. I wake up every day and I'm like, oh, those pesky penguins. No, because you're not being honest about something. You're not being honest about it. And that's the frustration we have. So the frustration all of us have when we comes to things like this. What's real, what's not? Why do you have to make everything so complicated? Shouldn't you want to pass more bills? Of course. The problem with that is, you know, on your own, many of the bills that you have out there, if you tried to pass them, would fall flat on their face. So you have to lump it in with everything else, hoping it gets through, right? It's like, 400 people rushing a concert, and they're just letting people in. 10 of those people don't have tickets, and they wouldn't get in. But they're going to get in now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Richest people in the world, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But it's massive. It is massive. 2,755 billionaires. Jeff Bezos leading the way right now. 493 newcomers, which is massive, including Whitney Wolfe Herd. She's the CEO of dating app Bumble, which went public this year. Elon Musk was 31st last year, jumped into second. 13.1 trillion. Last year they were worth 8 trillion combined. Massive. We're going to talk about it. Is it morally right to be rich? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet and text the program. Raycon, best earbuds around. I have my Raycons on whenever I golfed a lot this weekend. I tend to do that. Also, Jack's here. So one thing I noticed is I didn't have my Raycons because my son takes them. Right? It's funny because he's got those really expensive ones, but because it's all about the look, and he's got the white stem that it goes with my iPhone. Blah. And when he gets here, he's like, I don't care about those because these sound better. It's awesome. So I had to use yesterday another pair of like these earbuds that they were huge. They kept falling out of my ear. Every time I took a swing, it'd fall out of my ear. Raycons are great. 6 hours talk time, seamless Bluetooth pairing, no stems, no wires, better sound quality, better bass. Ray J put it together, and it knocks it out the park. Price starts well under $100. Well under. Raycon.com. You go check it out. But you go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. See all the stuff they got. You're going to save an extra 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Kong bows to no one. This morning, Godzilla vs. Kong, a knockout at the box office. The newest installment in the Warner Brothers Monsterverse, grossing nearly $50 million in the U.S. over Easter weekend and $285 million worldwide. The film, which was released simultaneously in theaters and in homes around the world on HBO Max, exceeding expectations at the pandemic-weary box office.
A big question, though, is that because of the movie itself or because we feel better about going to movies ourselves?
We have to go back to where it all started.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, wouldn't you think? I mean, it's first of all, it's Kong and Godzilla. We're not talking about this isn't Tom and Jerry. These are the Titans of Titans. One's 63 years old, Godzilla, and the other one's 88. And Kong, these are the absolute zenith of monsters. So yeah, you would totally think this is what it's all about. Absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to see it. I said, Jack, let's go see it. It's my son right here. You guys ready for this? Dad, I want to ride my motorcycle. A lot of the theme of my 10-year-old son is because he got a little mini bike. He thinks it's a motorcycle because he thinks he's Fonzie or something. I don't know. I told him, I keep calling him Fonzie. He's like, who's Fonzie? Who are you? What is this about? I said, hey, you want to go see it? Yeah, I do, Dad. Because it's on HBO and it's right there. And I'm like, we could just watch. No, I want to see it in the theaters. I said, all right, we'll do it. Can we do it Friday, though, before I go home? I said, Friday night, because, I want to ride my bike. And I'm like, all right, cool. Because he knows he can't take his bike with him. That's the other thing. His mom's like, mm-mm. And it's California, too, so he'll probably end up going to jail for driving a mini bike without 4 licenses and 12 helmets and being wrapped in bubble wrap. I want to see it, though. I do. I live it. I live to see things like that in the theaters. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Moral or not moral? It's really interesting. Capitalism. Right? We condemn the super rich all the time because they're evil. We're just talking about, 2,755 billionaires with $3.1 trillion, up almost double where they were last year. And, John Stossel always asks the question about, is moral, right? Because a lot of people think it's not.
The super rich, who are they and what are they doing to us?
Whatever it is, people say that just the fact that the rich have so much is itself immoral.
Immoral and wrong that the top 0.1% in this country own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%.
Yaron Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute's annoyed that today's democratic socialists say rich people got rich by taking money from others.
They want to condemn the people that actually have moved civilization forward.
Yeah, they do in a lot of ways. And it's funny because everybody always talks about, capitalists are all greedy. I said, you've never seen greed like you've seen people in politics. They're always concerned about OPM, other people's money, right? Other people's money is very important to them because you've got to be able to pay for all the stuff that you want to do, which is essentially give everybody the things that they want so you can make sure that you continue to stay in power. Other people's money is important to people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and the AOCs of the world. Taxes should be fair, but they shouldn't be ridiculous.
They actually improve the standard of living for everybody on the planet.
How could it improve everyone's living standard? Isn't there a fixed amount of money in the world, so when rich people grab a lot, there's less for everyone else? No, because wealth can be created.
250 years ago, we suddenly discovered the value of individual freedom, the value of leaving individuals free to think, to innovate, to produce, without getting the state to sign off on it. And we call that the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, and the explosion happened. And with capitalism comes some risk, like anything else, but a lot of it isn't the fact that it's capitalism. It's the fact that people do bad things. But even notice people who are poor do bad things, people who are middle class who do bad things, as well as people who are well. But we seem to think that anybody who's made money, and I have businesses, I'm successful, I get it all the time. And it drives me crazy because you sit here and you're like, you don't know what I've done, how I've built it, how I've gotten to the point I'm at. It's just automatically, if you're successful, somehow somebody else you had to essentially enslave to get you to the point where you are. And that's a bunch of crap. It is. I want to touch on this throughout there because it is important to realize that that's not the reality of it. And demonizing people who are successful is insane. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter, your Instagram, Chad Benson Show TV on YouTube. Check out Facebook as well, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We will see in the next 2 weeks the highest number of cases reported globally since the beginning of the pandemic. In terms of the United States, we're just at the beginning of this surge. We haven't even really begun to see it yet. We're now, I think, in that cycle where the upper Midwest is just now beginning to start this fourth surge. And I think it was a wake-up call to everyone when Michigan reported out 8,400 new cases, and we're now seeing increasing number of severe illnesses, ICU hospitalizations, in individuals who are between 30 and 50 years of age who have not been vaccinated.
Dr. Ulsterholm, who is... Man, he makes Fauci, because Fauci, as we all know, is like, everything's bad. You know that. You get a shot, you should hide. That's probably the best thing to do. Never go outside. That'll be great. We'll come get you in 5-6 years to decide if everything's good. But it's different. Even Ulsterholm is like, he's never, ever, ever got anything good to say. It's just always another surge, another variant, another whatever. I guess. I mean, yeah, there's going to be variants. There's going to be surges. You can't get back into life, right? And not think there's not going to be surges into something like this. People are going to get vaccines. We'll get this. The difference is it's going to be completely mitigated comparatively to what has been in the past. So, if you've got this, you get 1 shot, 2 shots, depending on if you're Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson. You're protected. Even if you get it, you may be asymptomatic. You may never know that you had it. Or if you do have it, it'll be just more of a nuisance than anything else. Today, Biden bumped up his want to have everybody essentially available to take the shot, getting away from the tiers. Like out here in Arizona, there's no tier anymore. You just go get the shot as soon as you can make an appointment. But it's very interesting because everything's always a negative. And by the way, a lot of these states they're seeing some, places where like Michigan, for instance. Michigan was super locked down. They weren't just kind of locked down, right? We saw what Governor Whitmer did and how hard she, the lockdowns that came with that. And some of these states are going to have to allow people to get back to their lives. They have no choice if they want to stay in power. I mean, you look at California right now. You got Gavin Newsom, right, who's the darling of the Democratic Party, who's now facing a recall that got really serious because people are like, even people on the left, like, all right, we can't do this anymore. We can't live inside our houses forever. And so slowly but surely, even when things weren't great, they're like, we better start opening it up. So as they started to open up, you can expect a bit of a surge. It happened in Israel. Israel opened up after they had started vaccinating everybody, and they had a bit of a quick surge. But after that surge, it started to plummet. You're going to find that. Because as people get back out there, people start living their lives. What I always hear is, well, you're not wearing a mask, or you should be wearing a mask. Look, I think if you get both shots, you should be free not to wear a mask. Well, what about, look, at this point in time, I can only do what I can do for me and my family. If you don't want to get, I've never said, I never will. I don't care if you get a vaccine or don't. That's a you thing. It's not a me thing. It's a you thing. You do your homework. You look at everything and what you think is best for you. And maybe you're a plague enthusiast. Maybe you're like, man, I can't believe we got rid of polio. That was fun. Or maybe you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I want to give it a year, which is totally fine. I have several friends who are in the medical field. I've got 2 friends who are nurses, and one of my good buddies is a big-time doctor. And he said, yeah, I'm going to give it a year. And he said if I had to take one, I'd take Johnson & Johnson right now, which is I think he's doing because it's older technology. He's a little worried about the newer technology. And we've talked about that with airplanes, right? The Air Max. Boeing's Air Max, we've said, hey, man, that first year, people are like, my friends who are pilots are like, I will not fly a plane in the first year. I let the bugs get out of that thing before I'm 34,000. And we saw what took place. There was bugs. There were fixes that should have been done, and they weren't. I understand that. I think we're in a position, though, we're going to be all right. Now the question is, can they produce enough to get people to the point where we really do have some sort of real herd immunity, not just state by state? Because that's also something. Florida, Texas, Arizona. I live out here in Arizona. We were the worst, not in the country, in the world, on 3 or 4 occasions. As far as per capita, people who contracted this. Like, that's how bad we were. But at the same time, because of that spread, we also built up a certain amount of people who had the antibodies and the herd immunity. You couple that with the fact that people are getting shots, lo and behold, you start to see herd immunity build up fast. And I think we're in a position right now where we're going to get there sooner rather than later. The variants can be a worry, but we can't worry about the monster that's around the corner. And that's too often what I hear from the government is we need to worry about what could be next. I can't live my life about what's around the corner. Because if I live my life based on that and you're going to live your life based on that, essentially you're going to be like, well, I'm just going to stay here. I don't need to go around the corner. And that's something we can't do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. You move from there to what's going on in the trial of Derek Chauvin. The reality is this guy, a clown. The Minnesota police chief was very vocal about what he saw. Because on top of that, it's not that the police everywhere right now are on trial on a daily basis. What's going on now, though, is the training part of the issue. When you look at that, is the training part of the issue. Not just, the world's watching, but it's not just about whether or not the Derek Chauvin is guilty. That's going to be decided by the jurors based on the case laid out by the prosecutor. But on the other side of things, people are looking at the Minneapolis police force like everywhere else. That's on trial. Was that training part of the department? Is this part of the department's values?
Arredondo telling jurors Chauvin should have stopped restraining Floyd once he was on the ground and clearly in distress.
To continue to apply that level of force to a person proned out, handcuffed behind their back is not part of our training, and it is certainly not part of our ethics or our values.
Chief Arredondo there talking about it because he was on the stand, and he's right. Like, I mean, it's a rogue cop. I mean, what exactly, caused this guy to go there? But training was going to be a big part of it. And I go back to what took place with Rodney King. Growing up in Southern California, when it first came out, the video, and then they went on trial, the 4 officers in Simi Valley, California. So much of that was based on, did the things that they do in that video cross the line of being illegal? Or were you trained to do that? The way you held the baton, the things that you tried to do, how many things that, you took place before you got to that point. And that's what ended up costing, essentially, the prosecution the case. Was, that by the letter of that law and the way it was written and the way that they've done things and the training, they didn't do anything wrong. Now, we all realize what happened was absolutely horrific. So like everything else, you've got to understand the law, and you've got to play the situation. If it's not what I know, it's what I can prove in court. And you only need one or two jurors to have some sort of like, you know what? I mean, do I think he did something? Yes, but they're trying to do this, and that's not part of what this is, so I can't vote for that. And because of that, not guilty. And that's what the defense is trying to do. One of the other things has to do with the fact that he didn't do something, Chauvin, when it comes to, because you're a first responder, when it comes to the well-being of a prisoner.
I agree that the defendant violated our policy in terms of rendering aid.
Again, Chief Arredondo there. Did not render aid. Had a chance. Didn't do it. Last week here in Phoenix, we had a guy had a medical emergency. He crashed his car caught fire. Cops went, pulled him out, and first thing to do was give him CPR. He didn't know anything, right? And this wasn't a guy who, this wasn't a guy who potentially had a bomb strapped to him. This was an individual who was, by pretty much everybody's accounts, out. So there goes that. Like, I get if you're not sure if the area is safe. That wasn't one of these. That was nowhere near any of that. And that's why you have to, if you're the prosecution, talk about, I get it. I get it. I get, like, if this guy had a bomb strapped to him, no, you've got to take care of the surrounding area. He didn't. You knew that because you'd spent the last 30 minutes with him, 9 of them on his throat. And if he had a bomb strapped to him, he'd have probably blown you up. You come at it like that, and you take away their argument before they even try to make it. Still, though, it is going to be about what takes place with the dueling medical reports. The independent one done by George Floyd's family, and then the medical examiner and coroner there in Minneapolis. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, tweet, text. Love hearing from all of your kids. Rough Greens. Give it to my dog, Doodle. Actually gave it to my big lizard this weekend. He loved it. Of course, I think he eats it. I give it to our tortoise, too, oddly enough. And they eat fresh vegetables and all kinds of stuff. But I sprinkle on there. I'm like, why not? Works for dogs. My goodness, it's got vitamins, minerals, got everything that the dogs love. And my dog, Doodle, is happier and healthier than ever before, to the point where I'm going to be honest with you, he's a bit annoying. Right? He's a bit annoying. I'm glad that he doesn't bark and bite the way he used to, but he can be bouncy now. And, man, it's crazy. It is. But that's what's great about him. A year into giving him this with Rough Greens, the Canine VitaSmart, his life has changed, and it's awesome. He's got a happier, healthier life than he's probably had, maybe ever. And Canine VitaSmart from Rough Greens is the reason why. Here's the thing. Rough Greens wants you to try it before you buy it. It's simple. It's easy. You go to roughgreens.com/Chad. roughgreens.com/Chad. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. When you do, you pay for shipping. They're going to give you a free bag. When you call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. Again, free bag. You pay for shipping. What do you have to lose? Nothing. Rough Greens make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a look and see what's trending. All the interwebs. All the webs have entered us. COVID prevention yesterday, because they had the Google, did the thing with the mask on the Google sign. And, oh, God, what is this about? Paul Pierce fired by ESPN for a racy Instagram live post. I bet that was awesome. Did you see it, Carlos? Did you see it? Was it racy? Yeah. Strippers. Carlos is our intern. He's hanging out for the day. And I have not seen it yet, but because it's everywhere. You could see bits and pieces of it everywhere, but apparently he was fired for that. Aaron Rodgers. You guys don't know who he is, Green Bay Packers quarterback. Everybody knows that. Really wants the job at Jeopardy and said that he would do it full time if offered the job. And they could work around it, but you have to wonder, man. Like, he was really prepared. He studied for weeks, he said. He was studying and he really got into it. He really wants that gig. And I'm like, I could see why you'd want that gig. That's a good gig to have. Absolutely. Paul Ritter, actor, dies at age 54. Was in Chernobyl, several other really cool things, Harry Potter movies. It's like one of those things where you're sitting there going, wow, man, 54. It's like when you're old, when you're young, you're like 54 sounds like something you've never even dreamed of. Can't make it to 54. Then you get to your 40s, like, uh-oh. But 54 years young, died. Damn good actor. One of those character actors where, like, you would see him and you're like, I don't know, that you, like, do you do something? Like, are you my insurance guy? And you're like, oh, no, I'm an actor. You're like, oh, okay. Head over to Twitter where everybody hates each other, which is always fun. The Masters trending big time right now, as it would be, because it is Masters week. Ken Jennings trending as well. I don't know who's going to get it. I don't know who is going to get it, but for whatever reason, people don't like Ken Jennings now. So is it going to be a woman? Is it going to be, could you go with Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback? I think it's a possibility. I don't think you're going to run like 50 people in and out of there. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be a revolving thing, but I think they're taking their time to find the right person, because I think the way they're looking at this, the right person isn't the right person for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They want the right person to be the next X amount of years. And they look over and see what's happening with Drew Carey. And with Drew, he has never missed a beat, right? He's still there. Price is Right still on. He's still crushing it and having a good time doing it. That's a great gig too, man. Let me tell you something. That's a great gig. You get paid oodles of cash and you work a few days a week. Like I had a couple of buddies who work on, a couple of them still do game shows, but they're like, with The Price is Right, he would, like, Thursday, Friday, like, that's it. He would do a Thursday, Friday, and he might shoot 2 weeks of shows. We're doing it today, and we're done. I ain't going to be back. Like, that's a gig. Major League Baseball is going to move their All-Star game to Denver, according to multiple reports. We're going to touch on that as well, because a bit of hypocrisy in the way that a lot of this has gone. And like everything, stuff gets reported certain ways. It goes south. Everybody's fighting. It becomes the wokeness of wokeness. And are we actually having a real conversation about things? Or are we just fighting and trying to make ourselves feel better because we can force a state or a person or somebody to do something? And we really don't know everything. Because that's a lot of what we do now. We are a nation of jump first and see if we have the parachute later. And that's not always good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Plus, things are getting more expensive big time, especially groceries. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You'll have total confidence in Dr. Fauci, as you said several months ago.
Yeah, I think he's the principal person we've relied on for the last couple of years. That's become somewhat controversial, I gather. But We have to take advice from somebody, and for myself, looking at his history and background, he's the most reliable witness I've seen.
It's Mitch McConnell there. Yeah, I mean, Fauci's what we have right now. There are other people out there that dispute how good Fauci is. And of course you've got the QAnon people and everybody else. Fauci created this so he can make billions. It's like, really? I don't have time for this. I don't. So it was who was it? Was it Fauci? Was it the Chinese? Are they working together? It's a possibility. Now that's crazy that I would work with the Chinese. It's possible, but highly unlikely. The variant that has been created was not created in the lab. You get all this crap. It's like, get over it, all right? He's what we have. He was credible until this point. But then when politics, like everything, when politics gets involved, things go to hell in a handbasket and they go south. And that's just the reality of it. It is. It's just the reality of what it is. I mean, even now, here's a perfect example of BS in politics. Did you see that hit piece on DeSantis the other day on 60 Minutes? You guys haven't seen it. I know a little late. The game took yesterday off. But even Democrats and people are going, this is a lie. This is an absolute lie. None of this is real. He's taking pay for play, and they gave $100,000. Publix, the restaurant, gave $100,000 to a PAC for him, and all of this stuff that came out. And it was like, that's BS. Like, even Democrats are like, thinking no. I'm thinking maybe that there needs to be some serious look. But in a day and age where we don't really want to know the facts, we're more interested in our point of view being affirmed. We're not really interested in information. We're not going to look on both sides of something, whether it's political or no matter what it is, whatever issue it is. Because I think everything now is like the intersectionality of politics, pop culture, sports, it's all there. So wherever that is, we won't look on the other side. Well, what's it like to walk in that person's shoe? What was it like in that situation? What was it like in that person's world at that moment in time? What's it like to whatever it is? We don't do that. But the Democrats, some of them have come out and said, Publix has come out and hammered them. And it shows you that partisanship is alive and well, and especially in the world of news media. It's one of those things, too. It's like right now we've got the battle going on when it comes out to Georgia and the battle over voter rights. It's suppression. It's ballot protection, like everything else, right? It's abortion, right? For some people, it's pro-choice. For some people, it's pro-life. For other people, it's restriction. Same thing with the Second Amendment, right? You want to take my guns away. You want control. It's gun control, right? The other side's freedom. It's the battle. A lot of times they're fighting the same fight. It's just a different issue as far as how they're attacking things. It's the same, but the issue is different. Governor voter legislation. How much of it's real? How much of it's not real? How much of it is what somebody reacted to? Man, the minute this thing came down the other day, Brian Kemp went and signed it. I had people tell me, so you got to have a fax machine and you got to have notaries, and then you have to. It was like, I'm like, none of that. Like, you're what are you talking about? Like, some of the stuff they were saying is like you have to have a thumbprint, a drop of blood. You have to get one of those stamps that you have to melt first and put it on. It was just insane. Some of the things that were coming out, none of it was real.
Was this the right move for the MLB?
Listen, it's just a symptom, George. It's a symptom of what's going on in our country right now. I mean, let's talk about what the Georgia law is really about. Drop boxes now become a permanent part of the Georgia landscape. They were not prior to COVID. They are now. Minimum of 17 days of early voting, including 2 Saturdays and 2 optional Sundays. You're going to have all voters being able to have multiple ways to prove who they are. Driver's license, last 4 numbers of your social security number, even a utility bill, or a free ID provided by the state of Georgia.
Chris Christie right there. Okay, I mean, drop boxes, that's the debate that goes on with a lot of places. I'm all for expanding voter access. I got zero problems with that. If you think if we expand access, people of color, minorities are going to come and they're going to throw you out of office, well, maybe you knew a better job at your job and a better messaging. At the same time, can people cheat? Of course they can. By the way, next time we have a vote, which will be a little over a year and a half from now when we have our midterms, there's going to be some nefariousness going on. Why? Because we're human beings, and human beings will inherently try to find a way to do certain things. At the same time, as we talk about, producer Phil went and got air blower for his keyboard. They made him show ID. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I'd like to get some cough syrup, but I'd like 3 forms of ID. You have a passport? Your firstborn? You're like, what do you think I'm going to do with this? I don't know. Something nefarious. We can't meet in the middle and have a conversation about how we address these things. Instead, it becomes political bashing of one another. And then the pressure comes on to Georgia, and Georgia's like, oh my God, now we're losing the baseball game, right? Because of this. And you're like, okay. And then remember, I live in a state where they were the last to make Martin Luther King a holiday, and in doing so, they lost the Super Bowl. Now, they've since made it a holiday, and we Super Bowl all the time because people are like, I don't want to go to Minnesota in February. It sucks. So sunshine's nice. There needs to be actual conversations. Are people interested in what's in the bill and how you talk about the bill in reality, or are people knee-jerk reaction? Well, we live in a world of instantaneousness, so knee-jerk reaction and screaming louder is the thing that matters most.
This is what we call...
So what is it a symptom of? It sounds like you're against
It's a symptom of this, George. I sat here and listened to the president's inaugural address. Politics need not be a raging fire that destroys everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war, and we must reject a culture in which facts themselves are manipulated or made up. And Joe Biden's broken his own rule, 84 days, lying to the American people, lying about this bill to cause the raging fire he said he was going to put out. I'm very disappointed.
Yvette, he did make some misstatements about the bill.
It's funny, though. It's like, and here's a perfect example. As much as Trump drove me crazy at times, when Trump did something, it wasn't a misstatement. You ever notice that? Like, Trump is just an absolute bold-faced lie. There's a misstatement on the other side. It's frustrating because what's really in the bill? And by the way, you show the hypocrisy of it all. So Rob Manfred, who is the guy who runs everything, he's a commissioner of baseball. So he's yanked out the baseball game, is moving it to Denver, the All-Star game. Okay, so you've gone and done that. Yesterday I saw that the Braves, they put a patch over the All-Star game, patches that they were wearing. Like, screw this. Right, you guys have done this. But he has a membership to Augusta National, where the Masters is played. He was at the Masters last year. Is he going to be there this year? He probably wanted to. The chances of him going there, probably slim to none. And the reason? Well, it's simple. It's politics. You're caught up in something. And the hypocrisy is, you people are asking, are you going to give up your membership? No, he's not giving up his membership. It's one of the most exclusive clubs in the world, especially if you're a golfer. He's not going to do that. If he did, I would be shocked. This would be my shocked face. You can't see it, but it's pretty shocking. That's the things that people get angry about, right? The hypocrisy. Is Major League Baseball going to stop working with the Chinese, who have 2 to 3 million Uyghurs locked up somewhere? Right? Are they going to stop working with countries? No. Everybody plays a game, and they want to be self-righteous. And so they figure they can continue to come hard. So one thing I'll say about the conservatives is, they're at the point now, it's like, I don't hear them say, let's cancel somebody. Let's get rid of somebody. Let's see. Yeah, did they in the past? Yeah, they used to. The Christian conservatives totally. Let's get rid of the Beatles. They're bad. We're past that now. Where people now, the other side calls for heads all the time for everything. And the best way to do it is to go to businesses and say, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, and destroy you otherwise. And there's 50 million people who use your product, none of which are these people, but you're going to listen to the 8 or 10 or 10,000 of them. The best way to stop that is by saying, no, people won't. They're not going to. So much of, though, what he said was not real, was not true.
Is the president going to change the way that he talks about the new Georgia voting law? Because in that interview that you referenced, he said the law would end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off, and he said it would end voting hours early so working people can't cast their vote after their shift is over. But the Washington Post gave that claim 4 Pinocchios because that part of the law gives counties the option to extend voting hours.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter. right? Extending. Oh, well, they could. It goes back to the reality of, are you interested in telling the story that affirms people's beliefs? Because at the end of the day, you have Democrats and Republicans who are both what? They are both corporations. Think of them in that way. They're both corporations, and they're vying for your business. Well, to vie for your business, they need to get you upset about something. They need to get you emotional about something. They need to push your buttons in some way, shape, or form. How do they do that? What's the easiest thing to do? Well, it's always fear, right? Fear is one of those things. And I tell everybody, if you guys listen to the show for a long time, you know this. The greatest sales book in the world isn't about sales. It's psychology. How can I evoke emotion out of you? Fear is one of the greatest things to do. You go and you can scare somebody into doing something. They're going to do it, right? The fear of missing out is huge. The fear that you did something wrong, the fear that you're going to be punished for something you didn't do, all of those things, they weigh on people. They're emotional. And because of those emotions, people will react. So it doesn't matter if you tell the truth or not. Nobody cares about the truth, right? There's your truth, his truth, her truth, and then there's the truth. And what we get too many times in politics, but also in journalism and any of this stuff nowadays, is you get one side of a story. You get one score of a game. Two teams are playing. How'd you guys do? We scored 8. What'd the other team do? We scored 8. You may have scored 8. That's true. But the other team may have scored 10, but you're not telling me all of what they scored. You're not. And you're more apt to tell me if you know you're 100% right. And too often than not, none of them are willing to do that.
But the thing he said has been determined by election law experts to be not true. So I'm just curious if he's going to stop saying that.
Well, again, I think we can, the fact checkers will also tell you that this bill does not make it easier for people across the state of Georgia to vote.
Does it or doesn't it? I mean, voting comes around how often? Maybe once a year for some local stuff, a couple runoffs here and there, things of that nature. And then every 2 years and 4 years. It's like, you can get there. We should make it easier. We should open up more poll places in underserved areas. Absolutely. We should make it easier. But we don't. And at the same time, people turn it into politics and they make somebody a victim. And then they, in making them a victim, they also have to make sure that everybody understands that they're apparently not smart enough to figure out the internet or to get an ID or to even how to vote. So that, and that's the frustrating thing. People need to wake up. Two corporations battling over your business. They're willing to say or do anything. And that's scary. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, your Instagram. I should probably Instagram something today. I didn't this weekend. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's pretty lazy. I did send out a happy Easter thing. And I tweeted yesterday. I was enjoying myself. But it was Jack and it was golf. My son riding around his little motorcycle. Like he was Fonzie. Still has no idea who Fonzie is. I'm going to look him up. Look him up. Home Title Lock. Here to protect you so many ways. For those of you guys who don't know, cyber criminals are pretty good. It's easy to steal your title. Everything's public record. You go online, see everything right there. Okay, there it is. They take your name, your address. They'll have your deed and everything right there. And they can look at it because, again, public record. Then all they have to do is forge a quitclaim deed over to themselves. And from there, they have control of your equity, your home, and your future. And it's simple and easy for them to start taking out loans. And when you notice it, it's too late, right? Because you're 90, 120 days behind on something you didn't even know you took out. And all of a sudden, you have tens upon tens and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars that are leaving your home's value and going to them. The chances of catching them are slim to none at that point. Home Title Lock will protect you. They'll alert you to anything that happens with your title. Even if it's something as innocuous as somebody going in there and go, hey, we need to dot an I and cross a T. They'll get that handled for you, let you know what's going on. Protect yourself now. Go to HometitleLock.com. Use code RADIO. Register your address. 30 days free protection. Check it out. See what you think. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com. Code RADIO, HometitleLock.com. Chad Benson Show.
Me Too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help, I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
Miley Cyrus is celebrating a feat only 2 other female musical artists have achieved. 1 billion album streams on Spotify. For Cyrus, it's courtesy of her chart-topping Plastic Hearts, released last November, and featuring the singles Midnight Sky and Prisoner, her duet with Dua Lipa. Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift are the other female artists who've scored 1 billion streams. Miley says she's proud to be in their company.
Yeah, that's a lot. 1 billion is a lot. 1 billion is a B. I try to get people to understand that you get 1 billion anything, you're doing all right. But you get 1 billion streams, you're like, what is this about? It is nuts. And you got to couple that with YouTube and how many views you have, and you start looking around, you're like, man, there's probably not a place on this earth outside of, some very, very isolated small islands where they've got those tribes where people show up and try to teach them about God, and then they throw spears at them. Remember that? Was that the guy a couple years ago? They killed that guy on that island. It's like, it's not what you want, right? Some isolated places, and like in the Amazon where but outside of that, everybody else on earth probably knows you. There's probably somebody somewhere. And I'm going to say this, sounds weird, like Mogadishu, who's streamed a YouTube video of you, like Party in the USA. I like this song. It's like, that's crazy. It's crazy to think that. But that's the reality of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us. I'm a redhead, and as we always joke about, redheads have no soul. One thing we do have, though, is a higher pain threshold than the average people. We call you guys averages.
Only a handful of studies exist on the relationship between redheadedness and pain, and the results appear conflicting.
They found redheads need more anesthesia, but fewer painkillers.
Redheads are more sensitive to temperature-related pain, but less sensitive to electric shock pain.
Yeah. Translation, we don't like being hot. That's right. We're not good. It's weird. It's kind of, that's why the Irish are the Irish. They're over there in a tiny island in the North Sea, essentially. That's why I lived over there for a decade. It is, we're not fans of the heat. And for me, when I take my temperature, normally it's like 98, 97.7, some weird thing like that. But when it comes to other pain, and anesthesia doesn't really work on me. It takes a lot. And I rarely take painkillers when I'm in any kind of pain. It's just very weird because we have a higher threshold. Because, again, we have no soul, but we're tough. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, your Instagram, Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The defense is showing the chief pictures questioning whether Chauvin's knee was on Floyd's neck the entire time.
Would you agree that from the perspective of Officer King's body camera, it appears that Officer Chauvin's knee was more on Mr. Floyd's shoulder blade?
Yes.
But the chief said by that time, Floyd may have already been dead.
Yep. Another day. Damaging testimony from the chief. At the end of these days, though, it's like, one day you think, they may, maybe it's not everything that you thought it was, and, and then there's twists and turns, and you're going to have that. The big battle is going to come when you get the two combating medical examiner's reports. So the independent autopsy. Floyd's family said, we want an independent autopsy, of course. Because the original autopsy said, it may have contributed, but it probably wasn't the thing that killed him. What killed him was the fact that he had all these drugs. He had hypertension. He had high blood pressure. He had all kinds of issues with his heart. And that may have started something, but anything could have. Anything could have. So you're going to have this, and the world's watching. I keep saying it. The world is watching. Does it mean that he's going to be found not guilty? No, I think based on what we have in front of us at this moment in time, you're going to probably be in a situation where he is going to be found guilty of something. Is it third degree? Is it second degree? Is it voluntary manslaughter? Those are what they're trying to figure out. And when it comes to a jury, you only need one that can hold everything up. You only need one that can pause everything. You only need one, and you need to have that doubt. And if you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, well, they said they couldn't really tell if the knee was on his shoulder blade or on his neck. This over here, the medical report over here from the state is telling us that it really didn't have damage on his neck. And when they cross-examined him, he held up pretty good. When they cross-examined the medical expert for the prosecution, he hemmed and hawed. Plus, he did have drugs in there. So you could start painting that picture of that.
I think anytime you're talking about jurors, they're going to bring their own perspectives, their own experience, common sense into that deliberation room. So some things are going to resonate a little bit more. And if they keep adding these little small granular doubts about whether or not it was drug use, what the actual cause of death is, you may find a juror that says, you know what, I'm not convinced. And that's really what they need, because a unanimous jury is required.
That's what they need. They only need one. Civil trial is a majority. Here, it's one. Here, it is unanimous or nothing. Right? It's unanimous or nothing. They have 14 jurors. 2 of them are the substitutes, if you will, and the other 2. You only need one. You need one person to go, I think that he played a part in his death, but I don't think he was the leading cause of his death. I think he played a part in his death because of his knee and what was going on, but I think he was having a panic attack. He was talking about having trouble breathing, and yes, he should have rolled him over once he had him, subdued, but you start painting that picture, and you only need one. That's all you need. Just one. They're not trying to get 12 to say not guilty. They're trying to get 1 or 2 to say, no, not guilty. Not guilty of murder. Maybe manslaughter, but not murder. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Watch out, the fourth wave is coming.
We will see in the next 2 weeks the highest number of cases reported globally since the beginning of the pandemic. In terms of the United States, we're just at the beginning of this surge. We haven't even really begun to see it yet. We're now, I think, in that cycle where the upper Midwest is just now beginning to start this fourth surge. And I think it was a wake-up call to everyone when Michigan reported out 8,400 new cases, and we're now seeing increasing number of severe illnesses, ICU hospitalizations, in individuals who are between 30 and 50 years of age who have not been vaccinated.
Look at the hospitalizations. You can do that. But look around the country. We're going to have a bump. We're going to have a surge. It's going to happen as you and I and everybody else gets into a point where we're starting to do what? We're starting to get back out there. We're starting to live our lives in a more open and free way, less cautious than we were, say, 3 months ago. We're starting to be out there participating in life in a more pre-pandemic way. Because of that, you're going to have situations where people, yes, are going to catch this. Some people who haven't been able to get vaccinated. Some people who may have been vaccinated, but it's really not affecting them. And other people who well, quite frankly, they refuse to get a vaccination. Maybe they're young and healthy. I mean, you're 27 years old and you're at peak fitness. You're probably thinking to yourself, you know what? I'll get it when I'm wandering around Walgreens one day and there's an opportunity for me to go over there and get a shot. I'm not going to take time out of my day at this point in time. And, of course, you got the usuals who are out there. It's like, you're going to grow a tail and you're going to be a gardener for, Bill Gates or whatever baloney those people think of, or you're not going to believe in Jesus, or I don't. It's a joke. Because that's what some of these people think. I mean, one of the things that was floating around out there was the fact that if you take this, that somewhere in there is some sort of chip or something that will cause some sort of reaction to your brain to essentially make you no longer believe in God or religion. I mean, that's the kind of insanity that is out there. You're going to have a spike. That's going to happen. States that aren't having spikes are states that during the beginning of this and throughout it were criticized. Criticized for what? Criticized because too many people got sick. Criticized because they had too many lax policies. Criticized because they were, essentially playing politics and thought, hey, we're going to let people live their own lives. Well, through that spread, you built up a certain amount of immunity right there because it was just naturally occurring because so many people had it. Then you couple that with now a large swath of people getting vaccinations. You're going to have a quicker way to herd immunity than you would in other places that were more locked down. It's kind of pretty simple that way. Now, as far as variants, there's always a risk of variants. I can't worry about what happens tomorrow as far as variants go, right? I don't think any of us can worry about, hey, watch out because there is something over here that may be different than this over here, and this monster could withstand everything. So because of that, we need you can't live your life like that. I can't live my life in the what ifs, which, by the way, when you listen to everybody, the what ifs are always bad. Because if we're going to live our lives based on variants and what the next variant could bring, then we're going to be in a situation where we're never going to get out of it. We're just never going to get out of it. Well, how's that possible? Well, think about this. Say you're going to get on an airplane, and the pilot starts telling you about all the variants that could take place in this, all the variables. We could have wind shear, which could cause us to go face down. We could have a bomb on board. We could have a situation where our engines fail. We can have an electrical fire. And he starts, and then, but if we did this could happen. And eventually you wouldn't fly. Nobody would, even the pilot. So you prepare for some of those things, but you also have to be optimistic. Look, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to go from point A to point B. And yes, there's always a possibility of something. But while other people think that's a guarantee, that's just not.
When it comes to variants, the past does not predict the future. We could see variants that develop that are not covered by our vaccine, that are not covered by some of the drugs that have been developed. And so it makes it so incredibly important we do all we can to not just vaccinate people, but to also reduce the amount of transmission that's occurring in the community.
Of course. So you should want to do. I think everybody realizes that. But while right now the variants that are in front of us, the vaccines seem to work pretty darn good against that. And most importantly, they work against the part where you die. That's all we can hope for. That's all we can hope for. The natural response to the body of building up some sort of immunity, especially that will happen through time, through continual exposure to something like this. That's probably going to happen over time. And the second part of it is vaccines are going to get better. How long they last, we do not know.
If the vaccine's bulletproof, because the thing that we don't know what the durability of the protection is. We know it's at least 6 to 8 months, but we don't know if it's a year or a year and a half or 2 years. So there are a lot of factors that'll go into whether or not we're going to require a boost and how often we'll require it.
And that's pretty simple. Are we going to need a boost? Maybe. Does this thing last a year, 2 years? Don't know. Does you getting it and surviving it, does that give you an immunity for a year, 2 years, 5 years? Because just because you don't test positive for the antibodies doesn't mean they're not there. They can fire up. That lady couple weeks ago we talked about it. She survived the Spanish flu. And what ended up happening when they reintroduced it to her is to show that her antibodies, like a memory, fired back up out of nowhere to fight it off. We don't know how long any of these things are going to last at this moment in time. Those are all other variables, but we need to live our life. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. As your Twitter, tweet at us. Pew Research says Americans who are worried about catching COVID-19 has dropped to a record low. A record low right now. 35% are worried about it. That's down from 50%. And a majority of Americans, 77%, think it's improving the situation with COVID. And so that is also a win. So I feel like confidence-wise, we're headed in the right direction. But at the end of the day, this is going to be not just on the physical and health side. This is going to be a mental side for a lot of people as well. Because there's still people I talk to out there who, as much as they want to get rid of the mask, are terrified right now. Because they've been told that there's something unseen that could get you. And that's going to hurt. Not just them, but, the psychology of it all, and that includes the economy. 323-538-2423. That is your text line. Got a few texts, got some tweets as well at Chad Benson Show. Let's talk about Car Shield. Protecting your car with Car Shield. Think of it as getting immunity to bad things that could happen to your car. That's what I'm talking about, kids. Car Shield's great. Offer you maximum safety on the road for low month-to-month cost. I got plans start as low as $99 a month. What's that do? Helps protect you from expensive car repairs. So you get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free. Even if your car's in the shop for 2 or 3 days, they're going to help you out with that. Make sure you have that. And on top of even that, you get to choose the shop, pay a small deductible. They get them paid. It's that simple. It is. Now, call them, be specific, right? Like if you don't cover your car for electronics if you have an AM/FM radio, but you didn't cover your engine. And the other way is you got your engine's great and you're not worried about it because you may even have a warranty because your car's newer, but you have nothing for the electronics, but you cover your engine. Be smart about it. Be specific. Call them up. Use code Benson to save 10% right there. 800-665-2157. 800-665-2157. Mention code Benson or visit carshield.com. Carshield.com. Use that code Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
My girl here wants me to come out of the elevator so she can come out of the elevator.
Because it's a small space, we're supposed to maintain social distancing. I don't understand why you can't just politely step out to allow me out of the elevator when I asked you nicely while you have been wearing your mask.
You didn't ask me nicely. You said get the out the elevator.
I said that after you refused to get out.
Yeah. See what happens when you get people so terrified of something that you cause them to essentially live in an absolute world of fear. So you got this young, 20-something in there, and there's a delivery driver, and they're fighting in an elevator because somebody's not wearing a mask the way they should, or, and that's the fear thing, right? Like if we're terrified of something, you will react in such a way. Well, why are you terrified? Have you done your research? I mean, maybe you have comorbidities. That's fine. But sitting there arguing with somebody isn't going to help you. And if you really think that being in an elevator puts you at serious risk, if somebody else is there, you need to take the stairs. Right? Like that's, well, what if I can't? Okay. But that, again, we could break it down to the nuance of one. But if that's your fear, then you shouldn't be in a situation where you're around somebody like that. You probably shouldn't be even outdoors like that.
You're not making sense, honey. You might as well get off at your floor.
I'm trying to get off at my floor. I can't come close to you. That I have an extremely compromised immune system. You are a delivery person incorrectly wearing the mask inside of
Is this incorrectly worn?
It wasn't like that the whole time.
Yeah, so at that point, we're not having a conversation. You're yelling and screaming, and nobody is paying any attention to anything you're saying because, well, you've lost it. And there's no conversation. We're not having a conversation. This goes back to just being kind. It goes back to understanding somebody else's position. And that goes both ways. That's the funny thing. We live in a world now where we'll keep it simple, stupid, in a world of combativeness. All right? This person over here believes marriage is between a man and a woman. This person believes that marriage should be between anybody. And it's funny because both of them argue and feel like that their rights are being crushed. But one side feels they have a moral superiority over the other side. And that shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. You can respect each other's views, but we don't. We stopped respecting each other a long time ago. We had the opportunity to go online and tell each other to blank off. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Capitalism. Speaking of morals, is it moralistic to be rich? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I was just so disheartened because we've gotten so far and we're close to the finish line. We really need to get people to maintain that social distancing and to get vaccinated.
Ah! What was that about? Rangers game? Texas Rangers? Yeah. What happened? There were people there. Wait, what? Yeah. There were people there. At the baseball game? Yeah, 40,000. 40,000 people. I know, right? Like, who would have thought 40,000 people would show up? There's Dr. Imran Ali right there. Who would have thought that? 40,000 people show up to watch a baseball game. That's insane. Yeah, 40,000 people. Fauci not thrilled?
We certainly want to see baseball start getting back into the style that we're used to it. But you want to do that gradually, a few thousand at a time. But to just start right off, just essentially pulling the plug, I'm a bit concerned about that.
Of course you are. But look, here's the thing I'll say about Fauci and everybody else who's in a position of medical. They take an oath, right? What's their oath? Do not harm. So above everything else, you do no harm. So more often than not, you're going to err on some sort of side of caution. The problem with the side of caution is we have also an appetizer of caution. Our main meal is caution. Our dessert is going to be caution. So with all that caution going on, people start to take a step back and say, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I'm buying all of this. I don't know if I'm buying everything you're selling me here, because it seems all you sell me is nothing but caution. And for some states, they took the governor off right away, or maybe never even really had it on. For other states, the governor is still on, if you will. If you guys don't know what that is, when you're riding in a car, right? Like NASCAR and everything, they got a governor. It can only go so fast, so the pedal can't go all the way down to the metal, as they would say. Somebody's going to have to do it, though. That's one of the other things. Texas, like, if you're going to be fully open, you're going to be fully open, right? You're not going to say, all right, here's the deal. We're opening up everything, but we're only going to allow X amount. No, if you're going to go fully open, you went fully open. And when you take that step, and I think it was about 3-4 weeks ago when Boris Johnson laid out his steps to getting the UK back to normal, one of the things was he's like, look, once we take the step, there's no going back. This is it. We're going forward. And that's exactly what some states are doing. They've said, look, we're doing this. Now, within those states, you got businesses, they're going to say, no, we still want you to do this. We got businesses still doing social distancing, wearing masks, things of that nature. That's fine. You should always give the people the right to run the business as they see fit in a situation like this. Do you always give the people, and I'm all about the people having rights. Some people can't be responsible. No, but I'm not asking for some people. I'll be responsible for me. Can things happen? Of course they can happen. But think about me. I don't go anywhere. Really. I mean, you play golf. I played, yesterday was the first time I played golf with another human being that wasn't a family member, okay? So, and I only played 2 holes with them because there was some people in the front and they were just awful. They just took forever, just ever. It's like, look, she's had 4 shots. She's not getting over the water. I don't know how many balls you guys have, right? How about we just put her on the other side and we're like, oh, honey, you made it. In saying that, and shake their hands, we had our own carts. But outside of that, I see lizards, I see my family, and I work with the same 15 people I have for the last year plus. I did everything in my power. I haven't gone to church. I mean, in any of those things, I've done everything in my power because I have people that I work around who are compromised, immune in a very serious way. And to get them sick could have been extremely devastating. In saying all that, I still managed to get it. Shows you the community spread. All right? So you can do all you want. You could be as precautious. It still might happen. But I like the fact that people have responsibility for themselves. And sometimes people are irresponsible. Yeah, but we can't go around living in a world where we're worried about whether or not somebody else is being responsible. You take care of you and your own and go from there. And yes, sometimes in life, good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. But we've got to live our own and our own lives, and that responsibility has been handed back by a lot of states where they said, look, you guys do what you think is right, and that includes business owners. But if you're going to go full bore, you got to go full bore, and Texas did that with the Rangers. Now, tonight, probably about 8,000 people there because it's baseball. It's not very nice, Chad. I'm just letting you guys know. That's probably what may happen. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Highest paid man is a CEO right now. You guys ready for this? Paycom. Chad Richardson. He is the CEO of Paycom. He's the highest paid CEO in the S&P. Last year, $211 million. I want you guys to soak that up. $211 million. Let's do the math over 365 days. That is nice. Almost $600,000 a day. Are you guys smelling that? That's a lot of hits right there. Top of that, his full compensation since 2020 has been about $702 million. I know what you're thinking. He's evil. He's bad. This year, Forbes rolls out their big list at this time of the year. Who's the richest, blah, 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 blah. They go from there. Elon Musk, Bezos, they've exploded with their wealth. $13.1 trillion is what their wealth is of the 2,755 billionaires in the world. Last year was about $8 trillion. It gets people talking about because it's a great thing to attack the super rich, the inherently bad or moralistically broken individuals that so many people think they are, and they're not. Some are bad, but you know what? I have news for you. I know people that are really wonderful people who are very wealthy, and I know people who are poor and they're awful, and vice versa. Money just gives you more of who you are, makes you more of who you are, gives you the freedom to be a little bit more of who you are. But when it comes to morals, again, wealth, is it moralistically right? It's wealth. That's all it is. It's money. There's only finite. It's not a finite amount. It's unlimited. And capitalism has changed the world for the better.
The super rich, who are they and what are they doing to us?
Whatever it is, people say that just the fact that the rich have so much is itself immoral.
Immoral and wrong that the top 0.1% in this country own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%.
Yaron Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute's annoyed that today's democratic socialists say rich people got rich by taking money from others.
They want to condemn the people that actually have moved civilization forward.
Yeah. Capitalism has brought more people out of poverty than anything else. I'm not here to condemn, some of the beliefs of people. Look, are they able to take advantages of things that other people can't? Yeah, absolutely. Let's not pretend that they don't. Are some of them super privileged and maybe haven't worked as hard? Yeah, but a majority of them, and by that I mean the vast majority of them, usually start from nothing and become something. They took an idea, they took a big step, but along the way, there's 5,000 other people who also tried that same kind of thing with an idea and took a step, and they failed and floundered. Didn't have the stick-to-itiveness or an idea that was worth a damn, and now they've got nothing. We don't talk about that, right? We only see certain people so automatically, because that person's successful, that person's bad and evil, and the only ways he got to where he got to or she got to is simply, he crushed everybody.
They actually improve the standard of living for everybody on the planet.
How could it improve everyone's living standard? Isn't there a fixed amount of money in the world, so when rich people grab a lot, there's less for everyone else? No, because wealth can be created.
250 years ago, we suddenly discovered the value of individual freedom, the value of leaving individuals free to think, to innovate, to produce, without getting the state to sign off on it. And we call that the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. How far have we come? Poverty. Real extreme poverty has virtually been eradicated. It's down to less than 10%, where it was 30 years ago. It was like 35%. Globally, that extreme poverty has been crushed down. And it's because of innovations and because people continue to think of new ideas, new ways to push the world forward. That's great. More realistically, they have. And if you talk to, I do have a few friends who have ridiculous amounts of money, not just kind of a little bit of money, like the kind of money where you're like, wow, you would never know at all. And by the way, money doesn't drive them. It's never really driven them. Most of the people that have this kind of wealth, it wasn't about money. It's about the vision they had. Along with that vision and the work ethic came success. And through that success came all of the stuff, like money and cars and houses and all that. It's not about that. People are they think you're just driven. It's all about the money. It's not about that. It's not. But that's what's pushed.
Industrialists, the people who owned the factories, employed hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. And they made enormous profits.
And how does that benefit your fellow man?
And ever since, politicians have complained about those profits. Capitalism created new wealth.
We got much richer. And yes, some people complain about inequality, but everybody got richer. Even the poor got richer.
No, that's not possible. Yes, it is. Capitalism is the greatest equalizer in the world. And can it be bent and spent? Of course. Religion is, politics is, everything is. And you want to see people who are greedy, look at politicians. What are they always looking for? OPM, other people's money.
Capitalism, unlike socialism, is voluntary. We see this every time we buy something.
Like a pretzel.
The seller's there for his own self-interest, and so am I. So why do we both say, thank you? Thank you. Because he wanted the dollar more than he wanted the pretzel. I wanted the pretzel more than the dollar. The transaction doesn't happen unless both of us think we win. And that way, voluntary transactions create wealth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Voluntary. Nobody's twisting somebody's arm for your pretzel or your dollar. I want something, you have a product I want, and you having a product I want, I am going to give you what I have worked hard for. That is great. It's so funny the way that so many people attack wealth. I have never been concerned. I see a guy who makes $211 million a year. I thought, that's pretty awesome. Most people say, oh, my God, that's just insane. That's egregious. That's just vile. Why should I look at it and say, that's great. How can I do that? What did he do? How can I do something like that? Oh, why would you want? Why wouldn't I? And I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about the success, building something up from nothing, having the opportunity to build something up where people are talking about what you made. The reality is he isn't talking about what he's made. He's talking about what he's built.
Since the Industrial Revolution,
we have more than doubled our life expectancy. We have dramatically increased the quality of our life, and we are wealthier than anybody could have imagined.
Made possible by capitalism, which people hate.
People don't like it because, it takes real responsibility over your own life to achieve something.
It's not so tough to share your stuff.
That belief that sacrificing for others is more moral is what gives socialism strength.
Yeah. By the way, Chad Richardson made $211 million last year. Oh, my God. He's the largest shareholder of his company that he started in 1998. He's 50 years old. So think about this. This guy started a company 23 years ago, right? 27 years old, starts a company. He has built this up. But how? You go and look at somebody like Elon Musk, who everybody gets mad at. Do you realize Elon Musk, there were times, even with all of his wealth, he didn't have money for rent. Because he put every dollar back into things that he wanted to put back in. Because it's not about the money. It's about the growth of something you have a dream and a belief in.
Today's socialists say self-absorbed Americans won't help the poor and the sick. That's why government must force everyone to give. Otherwise, the weak and the poor will suffer and die.
Ayn Rand was never against charity. What she said was that was not the major virtue in life, and that you should voluntarily have a choice about who you help and who you don't. The key is that somebody else's need is not a moral claim against your life. Your life is yours.
Boom. Truth. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Oh, we're going to talk a little bit about DMX, the rapper, the singer, the performer. Is he alive? Is he not alive? Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
As rap star DMX fights for his life in a White Plains, New York hospital, his family and fans are planning to gather for a vigil outside tonight. The 50-year-old, whose real name is Earl Simmons, has been hospitalized since Friday after suffering a heart attack. A statement from his family says he's in a coma and on a ventilator. DMX's longtime lawyer, Murray Richmond, would not confirm reports he suffered a drug overdose. The rapper's been around since the late 90s, when his first studio album, titled It's Dark and Hell is Hot, debuted at number 1.
Yeah. He was he's an interesting character. Depending on what you hear, he is a person he's got a lot of drug problems. He's had all kinds of problems across the board. Top of that, he's got asthma. He was raised a Jehovah's Witness. He is just a very interesting character. And some of his music, it's so raw, and it's just like, oh, my God, I love it. But at the same time, you're like, whoa. He talks about the fact he reads the Bible every day. He's a Christian. But he had a lot of problems. He did. And he filed for Chapter 11 a few years back. And, it's just he's had health issues in the past. He was addicted to crack. He's been in and out of several different homes to try to rehabilitate himself. And it's just it's very interesting. But he's a hot mess. Tons of movies, too. That's the other thing. It's like one of those things where he was an entertainer. Cradle to the Grave, Last Hour, Romeo Must Die, Exit Wounds, Belly. See what happens. Because X going to give it to you. Yikes. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Rough Greens, best thing I've ever done for my dog. Give it to my dog every single day. Gave it to my tortoise and lizard over the weekend. Vitamins, minerals, all this stuff. It's a supplement. You put it right on top of your dog's food, and guess what happened? It brings your dog's food to life. It's got to make it 3, it's 6, 9. All of this stuff that's great for your dogs. The joint pain in my older dog Doodle is gone. He's happier and healthier. We went from thinking about putting him down less than a year ago to looking at his life in a way that he's just living his absolute best life. Right now, try it before you buy it. Canine Vitasmart from Rough Greens. Simple and easy. roughgreens.com/Chad. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. You pay for shipping. They're going to send you a free bag, or call MyDog77, 833-MyDog77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Have a great rest of your day. We'll do it again tomorrow. As always, night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.